Hello, everyone. My name is Renan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. Welcome to another edition of the Acolyte Analysis, presented by Page Turners. They Were Not My Star Wars podcast. Last night's episode 7, entitled Choice, was, in my opinion, an extraordinary episode. We finally get some of the answers that we had been asking, to the questions we had been asking since the beginning of the show. As we saw a piece of the story of what happened in Brendock in the third episode, this shows us the other side of that coin. And I think all that remains is to see how May survived. So this is a big episode in terms of uh, this is I mean it doesn't pose as many questions. This one finally gives us answers. But it's a lot because yet again, lots of moral complexities. Now, when the third episode came out, I saw this online a few times of people saying the witches did nothing wrong. For me, I decided to put a pin in that and wait to see what was revealed later. I think it's very clear after this episode that nobody was 100% right and nobody was 100% wrong. Though I must point out that we, including myself, were very suspicious um, that Mother Indara was very suspicious. Well, as it seems now, I think we owe Master Indara an apology. In fact, I would argue that in this episode, she is the level-headed one. And she is not guilty of any particularly bad crime. Now, in terms of who's guilty of stuff, like I said, Master Indara, who, at least to me, as the kids say, is very sus, I do owe her an apology because she is not what I thought she would end up being. In fact, she is the one who kept trying to put Soul and Torben on the right path. Now, it is true that she is very stodgy. She is very kind of emotionless. Um, but yet, I think you can see that there is a good heart in her. And she grows concerned that Master Soul is forming an emotional attachment to Osha that is clouding his judgment. And she warns him and Torben, we need to not get involved in this. But they didn't listen. Now, I am still firmly a fan of Master Soul, even making some mistakes here because his mistakes are all born from a noble place. Mother Anastasia points out that the noble intentions of the Jedi might be their undoing, and she ends up being right in that sense. But in the case of Soul, I still am a fan of him, and I do not think that he is guilty of anything horrible, other than he should not have gotten involved. And this is sort of the other side, emotional attachment, and we see this in Star Wars, where Anakin's emotional attachment to Padme became possession and greed. Luke's affection and attachment for his father was not possessive or greedy. It was a belief that the best would eventually come out. And his attachment to his father was selfless. And because it was selfless, that is one of the examples of where emotional attachment is a good thing. Whereas with Anakin, it became selfish, his relationship with Padme. And therefore, it demonstrates what happens when emotional attachment leads to destruction. Soul's emotional attachment to Osha, unfortunately, does lead to some major problems. And yet, I'm still a fan of Soul because I think he recognizes later that he did the wrong thing. And I think that the real strength of a character is that they can admit when they did something wrong. And it's not about what you've done, it's about what you're doing. Now, I do want to jump right to the saving of May and Osha. Master Soul runs into the reactor room. The girls are on the bridges, and the bridges are about to fall. Using the force, he tries to hold the bridges up, but he is unable to hold both up. Now, I was talking about it with a friend this morning, and he pointed out that if Soul had been in an emotionally more stable place, he might have been able to hold up both bridges. But because in the previous scene he had killed Mother Anastasia, mistakenly thinking that she was going to harm them or harm May, which he confused with Osha at the moment. But he was under the impression that the girls were in danger, that Mother Anastasia was going to harm the girls and the Jedi, and so he acted and unfortunately made a mistake in misinterpreting what Mother Anastasia was doing, and he ends up killing her. But I think that he feels terrible for what he did. Even in that moment when Mother Anastasia reveals that she was going to let Osha go with him and that she deserved to be with him, he realizes he made a terrible mistake. And so in that moment, he is emotionally unbalanced. If he had been more emotionally balanced, he might have been able to save both girls. But unfortunately, he was unable to hold up both bridges and had to make a choice, or as I call it, a Sophie's choice. Now, if any of you are familiar with the 1982 film Sophie's Choice, Meryl Streep basically has to make a decision about which child to save of her two children. And if she doesn't make a choice, they will both die. So it is an impossible situation because making such a choice is an impossibility because there is no right answer. And so in this case, Saul had to make up his mind. He had no time to think about it. And he went with the one that he had the emotional attachment to. But oddly enough, he wasn't even able to hold her bridge up. So I think the emotional imbalance was definitely affecting him, even if it was the girl that he was attached to. I think he was in an emotionally devastated place. And was failing, but ultimately saved Ocean. I think it's human nature. If we were put in situations where we had to decide between saving someone we love and saving someone we don't really know very well, I think most of us, including myself, would save the person we were connected with. That's human nature. And I think in Saul's case, some people might be upset with him for letting Nay fall. But the way I view it is there was no choice. It was either save one of the girls or both would die. So, an impossible situation. So, Saul, if he is guilty of anything in this episode, it is letting his emotional attachment cloud his judgment. This is one of the lessons of Star Wars. Is if you allow attachment to cloud your judgment, that is not good. And so, from the moment he met Osha, even the moment that he saw the girls, he was connected with them. And unfortunately, believed the girls were in danger because he didn't trust the witches. And the pieces of the puzzle that he saw gave him the impression that the girls were being mistreated. But as we see, this is because he had only seen a part of the puzzle. He had not seen the whole puzzle. And I think the lesson for us is sometimes we make decisions without all the facts. And it's always dangerous to make a decision with only knowing a part of the truth. But this is what happened with Saul. And he couldn't help himself but followed the girls back to the cabin, which they're building apparently is a little mining facility. And he saw what was going on. And he was just worried about the girls' safety. Master Andorra repeatedly told him, "So you need to not get involved here." Now, earlier in the episode, it's rather funny because Torben, being a typical teenager, is like, why do we have to be here? Why do we have to be doing this? This is ridiculous. I want to go back home. And when he's griping about it, about what are we doing on this planet, Indara explains that this planet should not have life. That 100 years before the Acolyte, there was no life on Brendok because a hyperspace disaster. Now, I won't spoil anything for the High Republic novels, but if you want to know more about what was this hyperspace disaster, read the first book in the High Republic called Light of the Jedi. But long story short, the debris from the hyperspace accident peppered the planet, making it inhospitable for life. Now, Brendok was never mentioned in the High Republic books, but it makes sense to me that it was also affected by the Great Hyperspace Disaster. So the planet had no life, and suddenly now it does. The Jedi are looking. Well, Indara doesn't say much, other than this planet shouldn't have life, and yet it does. Sol then explains that they're looking for a vergence in the Force. Because a vergence would explain, or could explain, why there is life on the planet. Master Andorra points out that they don't really know for sure. But Sol is hypothesizing that there is a vergence in the Force. When he sees the two girls and they finally realize their Force potential, Sol realizes this could be what created the vergence in the Force. This is why there is life on that planet. Chardin seems to agree with it. But Master Andara chides Sol and saying, I don't tell my Padawan a lot so that he can figure it out on his own. You don't need to explain it to him, Sol. And Sol disagrees with her. And she lightheartedly says, well, that's why I have a Padawan and you don't. And they both laugh. So I think if I understand their characters, they have probably known each other for many years. And because of their different approaches to things, they're probably always kind of teasing each other. Because Indara is very straight-laced, is very by the book, is very her emotions are very controlled. Soul's emotions are not. And I think that's always been true of his character. So it's just like in real life. Now you can have someone very logical and analytical, and then someone like me who's all about emotion, and we wouldn't always get along because the way we act, the way we react, and the way we see the world are completely different. And that's what's going on with Soul and Indara. In fact, they really get on each other later in the episode. After the tragedy is befallen, Soul and Indara nearly get into a fist fight because they are completely opposite sides of this argument. And yeah, the Jedi Council said no. Said no, you're not going to train them and you're not going to take them away from their family. But then the results of the blood test come through. And Torvin and Soul, being too over eager, decide this is the answer. We're going to go get the girls. Well, unfortunately, the Night Sisters, the witches, I'm sorry, they're not Night Sisters necessarily. The witches are spooked by this. And so they prepare for battle and shut down their city like it's a siege. Now, unfortunately, Mother Anastasia did not authorize this. This is Mother Coral. Mother Anastasia believes that if Osha wants to be a Jedi, that they should allow her choice. But Mother Coral and the other witches disagree. And Mother Coral basically forces May to lock her sister in a room and to break the elevator controls. And May initially does not want to do that. She's like, I don't want to do it, Mama. But Coral, being rather rough with her, is like, the Jedi won't warn you before they attack. Get mad, use your anger, use your rage. These are dark side things. And I know that the witches don't see it that way, but I believe that it is dark side stuff that Coral is doing, that she is asking May to do. And Coral, I don't know what Coral's beef with the Jedi is, but clearly she hates the Jedi. Maybe she had a bad experience with them. I don't know. She is, um, I would say one of the Night Sisters on Dathomir, but then I realized they don't have horns. Whatever the case, I think she's had some bad experiences with the Jedi, or she's heard things about the Jedi, but doesn't really know. For example, someone who is Islamophobic, but has never met a Muslim, but only goes by what they hear on questionable sources. I think it's possible that Mother Coral is like that. That maybe she's never met a Jedi, she just has heard things. And so has a very negative opinion of it. And Mother Anastasia says, what are you doing? I didn't authorize this. And it sounds like she was going to let Osha go. But Coral, the other witches would not have it. Mother Anastasia said, I told you, no violence. But Coral isn't willing to listen. And of course, Torvin and Soul come in. Mother Anastasia gives them kind of the talking to. But then, as she's doing her witch magic to essentially release Osha, to deliver Osha to them, Soul misinterprets it, stabs her, and kills her. But, and this is a big but here, Mother Anastasia is not angry as she dies. She speaks comforting words, saying, I was going to let Osha go with you. She deserves to be with you. There is no malice or hate in Anastasia's mind, other than I think she's sad at the misunderstanding. Now, Mother Coral, unfortunately, takes this very personally and attacks Soul. But I think because of Soul's mistake with Mother Anastasia, he decides not to attack in return. This annoys Mother Coral, and she screams at him, fight me. This is very much like May going after Indara and Soul saying, fight me. But they refuse to fight and to commit violence, only to defend others. This is kind of, now it makes me wonder if Chimere has some connection to the witches. Because his teachings sound kind of similar. But regardless, Soul will not fight Mother Coral. He'll defend himself. He does use the lightsaber to cut off the top of her spear, but will not use it on her. Corbin seemed a bit more eager to fight. That moment right before Mother Anastasia is killed, and it looks like Coral and Turbin are going to fight each other. Anastasia screams, no. He does not want that to happen. And Turbin is defending the arrows. Soul refuses to fight Coral. But then Kanaka shows up. Because Indara is very upset at what just happened. Because she told Soul, don't get involved. The council said, don't get involved. And yet Soul and Turbin do anyway. So Indara rushes on the spaceship to stop them and sends Kilnaka down to stop the fight. But unfortunately, Mother Coral turns to smoke and possesses the mind of Kilnaka. Not only does she do it, but a good number of the Coven council members use their abilities to control Kilnaka. Now, why did it take that many witches to control Kalnaka when only one witch, Anastasia, was able to get into the mind of Turbin? Well, let's talk about that really quick. Mother Anastasia puts herself in the mind of Turbin because I imagine, given Mother Anastasia's power, that she can sense the moment she meets this that Turbin doesn't want to be there. And he's being, your typical teenager. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to go home. Mother Anastasia knows this. And as a result, she enters his mind to try to give him a sense of validation. And she is doing kind of, I think, what Darksiders do. And I'm not saying that Mother Anastasia is a Darksider, but she does what villains often do in Star Wars. If they know the weakness of somebody that they're trying to seduce to the dark side, and they use that weakness, they exploit it. And Mother Anastasia is exploiting Turbin's weakness, Turbin's teenage, non-cooperative attitude. Also, is it just me, or is this scene kind of flirtatious? I don't know. Mother Anastasia seems like she's kind of putting the moves on Turbin. And maybe that's all part of it too, since he is a teenager. She's preying on his emotions. And I think that moment where they first meet, she's essentially possessing him with this obsession of getting off Brendock. This, unfortunately, will lead to Turbin making some bad decisions and being too hasty and rushing into things, which unfortunately gets nothing but trouble. Now, I'm still not exactly sure what Mother Anastasia's goal was with Turbin, other than maybe giving him an idea to go away, to leave them alone. I don't really know what her reasoning was, but as often happens, she is trying to validate his teenage feelings. And in my opinion, invading his mind like that, exploiting his weaknesses like that, is a dark side behavior. So, as I said at the top of the show, the narrative that the witches did nothing wrong, I do not agree with. Because they're doing some stuff here that is wrong. Whether it be invading someone's mind and exploiting their weaknesses in a very sinister way, whether it be trying to force Osha to stay, whether it be wanting to commit violence against your leader's wishes. They're doing a lot of bad stuff, which the Jedi are not blameless either. Now, it is nice to know that the Jedi Council is not to blame for this. And Indara is not to blame for this. Nor is Kalnaka, unfortunately. So I had predicted that Turbin would get his scar from Kalnaka. Well, I had predicted one of the Jedi gave him this scar. I was right. I was right about that. And most of my predictions have been wrong on this show. But now, why did it take so many witches to control Kalnaka? And it only took one witch to do that to Target. I think because Kalnaka is a Jedi Knight, an adult, and a Wookiee, I don't think his mind is that easy to control. That's why I think it took so many witches. Not just Mother Coral, but the other witches as well. Maybe they were lending Coral their strength. But I think it took so many because Tanaka seems more sure of himself. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that he is more confident as a Jedi Knight than Torben as a Titleist. And also, we don't really know what Wookiee minds are like. Maybe they're not as easy to influence as we think. Now, when the spell is broken and Dora gets them out of Tanaka's head, they all fall over. Are the witches dead? You know what? I don't think they are, honestly. Unless this is a ritual suicide, a ritual mass suicide. Maybe it's we'd rather die than let the Jedi have us. Now, earlier, when May is being tested, she says that Mother Anastasia had said that only through sacrifice can we fulfill our destiny. I believe she said the sacrifice of all. Now, does this mean a literal physical sacrifice? Killing yourself, or does it mean your heart? I have a theory that the reason the ascension took place is so that all the witches can basically commit ritual suicide, and May and Osha continue the coven. That's just a theory. I don't really have any proof behind it. But I wonder, what is that pit where they're doing the ascension? What is that rock pit for? I wonder. Is it a dark side cave? Do the witches jump down it to die? I don't know. Now, the implication is that the witches are helping to control Kaldaka. But it could also be that they're committing a ritual suicide. Now, if it's not a suicide, I don't think they're all dead. But I guess the question would be, would the fire eventually consume them? Because they were left there. Is the fire eventually going to consume them when they're passed out? All I know is we didn't see where Mother Coral went. I have a suspicion that she's still out there. So now we kind of get some of the answers. I still love Master Soul. Yes, he was too overeager. And sometimes being over-eager can get you in trouble. Corbin was over-eager to get out of there. But like I said, we owe Indara an apology because she's the one who tried to stop this from happening. But they didn't listen to her, and she's very angry at them. And when it comes to what are they going to tell the council, she says, we're going to tell them the truth. May started a fire. They killed all the witches. That is one of those partial truths. Why does Indara not want to tell them the whole truth? Well, I think in a way it reveals her compassion. Even though she seems very by the book, I don't think she wants Soul or Torben to get in trouble with the Jedi. And also, as she points out to Soul, it's going to ruin Ocean. In going back to the council and telling them every little detail of what happened, it's going to ruin Osha's life. And Indara knows that that would be wrong. So this little girl who's already gone through enough trauma would have to be put through more trauma by telling the council every detail. So as I said, I'm still a fan of Soul. He made a mistake, and if he had left them alone, everything would have been fine, I think. Or, well, mostly fine. I'll say mostly. I don't know about what the witches were planning if everything had gone as normal. Was there going to be some kind of ritual sacrifice or something? Don't know. But if Soul had left them alone, things would have been fine. But the reason I do not blame him is because as human beings, we make really stupid decisions in the name of love and affection and attachment. We all do it. We're all guilty. In the case of Soul, what he did does not matter. What matters now is what he's going to do with it. And hoping that he will eventually set things right. There's so many more things I could talk about in this episode. But those are the ideas that really stood out to me. Be interested to hear your thoughts. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. And follow me on all my various other social endeavors. My name is Brennan Marr, that noisy Harry's my ventilator. Thank you for tuning in to another Acolyte analysis. Presented by Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.